Hi there, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 364. Yep. And I'm Lisa, also known as Fiber Nymph. I didn't have to look at the paper for that. Today is Thursday, August 7th, and we're outside because it's beautiful out today. The sun keeps popping out. I would have gone up on the deck, but I was just afraid that the sun was going to come out from behind the clouds and like toast me, so I'm under a tree. So here we are. I hope you had a nice couple of weeks since we spoke last. Let's see what happened. There was Passover, there was Easter, so if you celebrated either of those, I hope you had a lovely and meaningful and fun time safely. Anyway, so that was Sunday, so that was something I did. What else? The other thing that has taken up scads of my time since the last time we talked was bank fraud. Yeah. 0 stars. Do not recommend. So, here is my public service announcement for the day. If you get it, and you know what, as soon as I say this stuff, you're going to say, well, like, duh, why would you have done that? But here's the thing, I am a relatively intelligent person, and I am not all that gullible, and yet I got phished. And I didn't realize it until it was too late. And so I got, let's see, a week ago Saturday, not this past Saturday, the week ago Saturday, I got a text. And it came, allegedly, very convincingly, from my bank, from their customer service department, saying, hey, did you authorize this $3,500 payment? And it's like, no, I didn't authorize this payment. And so I texted back, no. And so they're like, would you like a service member to call you? I'm like, of course. Now, okay, so right there, here's your first thing. Like, if you ever get a text like that, don't reply. Immediately call your bank. It's that simple. But did I do that? No. Why didn't I do that? Because they get you with, did you authorize a $3,500 payment? Note, it did not say, did you authorize this $10 payment? Because you don't get as worked up with $10. $3,500 is going to get your attention. Got mine. So, making a long story short, the guy called. Okay, this isn't going to be short. And you know what? I will put a timestamp in here if I haven't already about where you can get to the knitting, if that's what you're here for. Yeah. So he calls. And the phone call came in from my bank's customer service line. It came up as that. The number came up as that. It's stored in my phone because I call that number for things. So I had no reason to think that this was not legitimate. And he starts talking to me. He's like, oh, it's fine. We'll take care of this. We'll lock down stuff. We'll make sure that nothing can happen. And he starts asking me for numbers to verify my account number, my social security number. Yeah. I gave them to him because I thought he was helping me. And it wasn't until a little further into the conversation where he's like, okay, we're going to send you like a code, and you need to tell me the code to verify that blah blah blah. Well, when the code came in, it says, do not give this number to anyone. No one from this bank establishment will ask you for this number. So it came in, and I said to him, I'm like, well, yeah, I got it, but it's telling me that I should not give this number to anyone and that you would not ask for it. And so then he goes on with a spiel about, oh, well, in this case, blah blah blah. And I'm like, something's not wrong. That's when my intuition finally kicked in. Better late than never. And I hung up. Actually, I said, you know what? That's okay. Thank you. Bye. I thanked him because I can't be rude to people. You're scamming me and I'm thanking you. I'm an idiot. I'm not an idiot, but like, oh man. Anyway, so I immediately got on the phone and called my bank, which ironically is, I called the exact same number that had come in on, and because that is my bank's customer service line. And I said, hey, I'm calling because I need to confirm that you just called me about a potential fraud incident. And the woman on the phone was like, oh, okay. She's like, I'm sure it was probably us. And so she's looking things up. She's getting logged in. And I'm continuing to talk and explain the situation to her. And the more I say, she's like, oh. She's like, oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no, we would not do that. And I felt so bad for this woman because at this point, like, I'm mad at myself, but I'm not freaked out. She, however, was totally freaked out. And she's like, okay, we're going to take care of this. This is going to be fine. We're going to take care of this. And I'm like thinking, is this your first fraud incident? Because you seem really, really freaked out. And I could like envision in my head her sitting at her desk with a big red button on the wall that she's pushing, fraud, fraud, fraud. And the way she was talking, I was totally expecting her to say, we're going to boil some water and tear up some clean sheets, because that's kind of what it sounded like. And I'm like, it's okay. I just need you to take care of this. And I'm apologizing to her now. I'm like, I am so sorry. I feel like a complete idiot. And she's like, it's okay. This happens. They're professionals. They should all be put in jail. They know what they're doing. So throughout the rest of Saturday, I was on the phone with her. I was on the phone with another bank employee. I ended up on the phone with one of my credit reporting places, which if this happens to you, you have to call one of the 3 main credit bureaus and report it and put a fraud alert on your credit report. And then they are required to contact the other 2. So Experian, Trans-Siberian, TransUnion, and whatever the third one is, I don't remember. They're required to tell each other. They have to talk. So that makes it a little easier. You also get to file, if your social security number is compromised, you get to file an identity theft report, which I had to do. So this took a lot of time, and they froze all my bank accounts, and then I had to open all new bank accounts, but I couldn't access any of my money. Can't use any of my debit cards. And that was Saturday, so it took till Monday for me to open new accounts because they couldn't do it online because my social security number had been compromised. So then Monday morning, calling the bank, explaining what happened, saying need new bank accounts, and I've got like multiple bank accounts because I've got my personal accounts and I've got my business accounts, and all of my online banking was compromised. So all of these had to be reopened. So they were very helpful. And they said, that's fine, come in at 3 o'clock and you can sign the papers, we'll have everything ready for you. Okay, so I did that. But in the meantime, like, I've got all these like automatic payments set up, and I can't reset them up because I don't have account numbers yet. You know, it was a long process, and I'm still in the midst of it. I'm still, like, every day I get emails saying, your payment has failed. And it's like, yes, I know my payment has failed because you don't have the right account now. So I guess if we're going to look at the positives here, number one, they didn't get any money. I guess I acted fast enough that nothing happened. And I was able to lock down my credit report so that they can't open other accounts in my name. We have since filed our tax return, so I don't think any bogus tax returns can be filed in my social security number. And on the bright side, no one that I had to talk to in this whole process called me a flaming idiot, which is what I was feeling like. They were all very, very compassionate and kind, and I'm thankful for that. The only person who he didn't call me an idiot, but he's like, are you serious? You actually gave them your number? Was my husband. When I came downstairs after this all first happened, and I told him, because I was on hold with the bank at that point, and he's like, you never give somebody that information. You call them back. And I know that now. See, he has to take classes every year through work. They have to go through like this whole course of how to avoid phishing scams. I am self-employed. I do not have that. So now I've learned the hard way. So I share all of this not because I need anybody's sympathy, because seriously, you could just say, oh, you dork, and it would be justified. So yeah, I've spent a whole lot of time in the last week and a half now, dealing with all that. As a result, I have been highly, highly stressed. And for me, when I have a lot of stress going on, it always settles in my lower back. That is where I carry stress. Everybody carries stress physically. Somehow their mental and emotional stress gets carried in some physical form. Mine is in my lower back. And I have been dealing with back pain like you would not believe. I've been trying to work through it, but it's not been fun. And then I spent a day out in the shed, which did not help either because I was lifting a whole lot of heavy stuff. So anyway, hey, that's been my life for the last week and a half. I hope yours has been better. So now we're gonna, 15 minutes in, we're gonna jump into the knitting. I'm sorry for all of that stuff at the beginning if it wasn't what you were interested in, but in my defense, I did tell you you could jump ahead. Okay, so let's talk about finished objects because I do have some. You know, all of this was also taking place while I was trying to dye like crazy and get dye to order stuff out and get ready for the Allentown Virtual Festival that's this coming weekend, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more later. But yeah, I lost a lot of work time. Not fun either. Anyway, finished object, look! My blue Striped Ragg Socks are done. And you know what that means, because remember, I did this one, I worked on this one when I went for my first COVID vaccine, which means I worked on this one when I went to get my second COVID vaccination, which, excuse me, was last Friday. So yay, I am fully vaccinated. And as of tomorrow, I will be 1 week into my 2 weeks post second vaccination. So yay, I'm very happy. So the socks are finished. I will not be wearing these until probably next fall, but I really like them, and I'm sorry I did not put them on a sock blocker, but they're very matchy. Yeah, pretty matchy. So this is Patons Kroy blue striped rag colorway. I knit them on US 1s. It was just a 2x1 rib on the cuff and heel flap gusset heel. So yay, those are done. Moving on along the sock line, I'm still working on my collection of mismatched shorty socks, and I did finish this one. I can't remember if I showed it to you in progress or not last time, but this is my third one now. So this is my bedazzled base in the Hypothesis colorway. I did no yarn management on this one, as you can tell, because these two stripes are super close together. I knit through. I wasn't sure I was going to have enough yarn for this one. Actually, that's not true. I think I was just lazy. Whatever. But here we go. I'm using the same recipe. I'm doing a 2x1 rib for 16 rounds on the cuff. Then I'm doing 18 rounds of stockinette. And then I'm doing an 18 slip stitches in the heel flap. And then doing the gusset decreases back down to my original stitch count of 60. And then doing my toe for approximately 9¼ inches foot length. So that's the third one, and my fourth one is on the needles. This is also my bedazzled base, and this is my 12 Days of Christmas colorway, which isn't super Christmassy looking. And I also did no yarn management on that. So I'm past the gusset decreases. I'm just knitting out the foot at this point. Also on US 1s, same recipe. So I think I have that all spelled out in my Ravelry project page, because I'm putting all of these shorty socks in one Ravelry project page. Oh, about Ravelry. Yeah, they're all done now. You can't have the original Rav, like vintage Rav, or not vintage, what did they call it? Classic Rav. And now it's just new Rav. They did introduce the dark mode or whatever, which is what I have mine on. I find that least visually disturbing. Not that it was not giving me headaches, but it was giving me eye strain. And at certain, I wasn't getting seizures or anything like that. I know a lot of people had a lot worse experiences with that, and I think I even talked about this the last time I recorded. But anyway, I did log off of Ravelry last week for those 3 days that a lot of people were logging off in protest, and I stayed logged off all through the weekend. Matter of fact, I think I didn't log back in until this morning. I feel very mixed and conflicted because, you know, on one hand, I have a business that has a lot of people who interact with my business through my Fiber Nymph Dye Works Ravelry group, and I want to be there for that. And I do find it very, very convenient as far as a place to find patterns and keep track of my projects. And I can't replicate all of that anywhere else. Like, I can replicate parts of it other places, but I can't replicate all of it, and I can't expect everybody to want to go somewhere else if they're okay with using Rav still. So it's a hard place for me to be, because I'm there both as an individual and as a representative of my company, which I'm the only person in my company, so I guess I would be the representative of it, right? Yeah, so all that to say is, if Ravelry is not accessible to you, I will always do my very best to try to provide alternatives for you. If there's anything that you're looking for related to me or my business, you can always just email me and I'll be happy to share information with you that way if that's what it takes. Okay, anyway, socks, that's what's going on there. Oh, another sock. So you might remember that I showed last time, one of my new things was a sock tube that I had purchased from Knitty Boh Fiber Co. And here's the rest of it. It's very long. I do have needles in because that was the end that I was working on. And so I started this is all an experiment. I've never worked with a sock tube before, other than like when I've done a sock that I've knit and put an afterthought heel in, but that's not quite the same, because here you're actually not only doing your cuff and your heel, but you're doing your toe, and you have to cut the tube to have the foot the right length. And I did mess up. I did make this a little shorter than I should have. This sock is a little snug on me. So basically I found the end that I could unwind the waste yarn. So there's waste yarn on either end of the tube from when it's cranked. Cranked. That's the universal sign for cranked, I guess. And so I picked up the stitches, and the other thing about this that I hadn't really thought about was I needed to figure out what needle sides to use, because, you know, I knit my socks on a US 1 almost all the time with fingering weight. But since this was cranked on a tube, and this is a base I've never worked with before, this was some Knit Pick Swish fingering weight bear that John dyed. John being the dyer part of the Knitty Boh Fiber Co. And then his wife Aquila cranks the sock tubes if you want them cranked. So I knew it was a 64 stitch sock tube, but I really didn't know what needle size would work best to match the tension or the gauge of this. And I never really pay attention to what my gauge is when I knit. I just know what I use. I use a US 1 with fingering weight yarn. It almost always turns out fine. So that's what I did. I put my needles in. Sorry, there's little bugs out here. I put my needles in and I knit the cuff up. And I thought, well, it seems a little loose, but not excessively, because it's sort of the fabric I always have with a cuff with my needles. But I think it felt loose because I don't usually do 64 stitch socks. I do 60 stitch socks. So I thought it's okay. So then I counted down, and I'm kind of using the same recipe that I'm using for those other socks. So I have a 16 row cuff, and then I went down 18 rows of stockinette, although I think I did that wrong, because where I put my needles in, I think I went up 1 row. Anyway, again, this is an experiment. So I put my needles in over 32 stitches, and then put them in again over 32 stitches right below that, with 1 round in between to snip. And so I did that, and I did my afterthought heel. Well, I did my afterthought heel, and my first try at my afterthought heel was so loose. And so I thought, well, this doesn't see, it wasn't like the fabric was any looser than it would have been, but like I was knitting out. And I have a way of doing my afterthought heels usually where I do 5 rounds straight after I've picked up my stitches, 5 rounds straight, and then I do a decrease round. Then I do 2 rounds straight and another decrease round. And then I thought I did like another 2 rounds and then a decrease round and then did it straight, but I think I don't usually do that. I think it's just 5 rounds decrease, 2 rounds decrease, and then I do a decrease every other round. So I had to rip back because my heel was really long and floppy, and I wasn't anywhere near the end, you know, where I was going to be binding off. So I had to rip that back, and I did it again, and I just did it with 5 rounds, a decrease round, 2 rounds, a decrease round, and then decreased every other round until I got to, I don't know how many stitches that was. It's shallow. It is a shallow heel. That, you know, I like afterthought heels, but sometimes they fit me better than others. And I think the reason this is shallow is, again, because I could have probably done more decreases, but I was afraid it was going to be too long. But working with the 64 stitches is sort of throwing me at this point. Anyway, I continued, and I measured out from the tip of the heel out to where I thought I needed to put my toe in to end up with, you know, I always accommodate or allow for 2 inches of toe. And so I did that, and I started my toe. And I'm pretty sure this does measure 2 inches, but this is about, I would say I'm about an inch shy of a good fitting sock. The toe, however, I did go down to a US 0 because I wanted to see if the fabric would be better, and it is. And it matches the fabric in the sock tube much better on a 0 than on a 1. So I think what I've learned from this is I'm going to go down to a 0 to do all of the pieces for the other socks that I do with this tube. I think that'll be a better fit. And I'm also going to do more decreases in the heel, which I'll need to if I'm going down a needle size anyway. And then I'm going to make sure that I measure out like an extra 1/4 of an inch more than what I think I need for my foot length. And I think that'll work better. I've got a lot of sock tube to play with. So I think eventually I'll end up with socks that I can wear. I mean, not that I can't wear this one. It'll be fine. But yeah, it's been an interesting process playing with this. I love how it turned out though. The minis that I used for the cuff, heel, and toe are my minis. They're my Bounce. So this is Vivid Violet, this is Fuchsia, and this is Aqua Shock. And they match up pretty well with colors that were in the sock tube, so I'm happy with that. They were just fun, you know? So I'm having fun playing with it, but it is very much a learning experience and an experiment, so there's nothing wrong with that. I have the feeling I can get at least, I'm going to say I can definitely get 2 shorty pairs and maybe 1 full-size pair out of this sock blank, or sock tube, maybe even more. So we'll see. But that's what I've done so far. So there's that, and then the other thing that I've worked on is my Amberle shawl. So this is the shawl by Shannon Cook, which you saw the last time I had just cast it on. So here's what it looks like. And I'm doing this out of my Ridgetop non-superwash in the DK weight Ridgetop. And here's where I am. Now, the last time you saw it, I was halfway through the body repeats, and I had 3 more to go. And I've finished those, but I had enough yarn left that I decided I'm going to do 1 extra, because I want it to be as big as I can get it. And so this is the yarn I have left. This is 2 separate balls. And I'm about halfway through my extra repeat for the body. And I've left it on this cable, so it's still fairly short and all scrunched up, but you can see it's gonna be big, because once I block it, it's really gonna stretch out too. I'm really enjoying this. I hadn't worked on it for about a week because of all the other stuff I just told you about. It really sapped a lot of my energy. I've got to tell you, my will to live. No, not my will to live, but it did make me very sad. At one point, I just broke down in tears after all of that happened with the bank. Not because anybody else made me feel bad, but I felt, people say, oh, I felt so violated when I had that fraud or that whatever. And I never understood that until now, because it's one thing. I'm sorry I'm going back to this, but it was a big deal. Yeah, like I've had people like steal my debit card number before, and you know, have to deal with that and get my fraudulent charge money back. You know, that's a pain, and it makes you pissed off, right? But this was personal. This was a person on the other end of the phone talking to me, knowing that he managed to steal my trust in him, thinking he was somebody else. That was personal. And it felt like it afterwards. And I felt that shame and anger that you get from an incident like that. So it really affected how much I worked on anything, because I just didn't have the energy. I was tired and my brain didn't want to think about anything. So that's why I didn't work on Amberle any more than I did. But I'm having a good time with it. I'm really enjoying it. I can't wait to have the finished object. So like I said, I'm almost done with the body portion, and by the time you see it next time, I will be into the border. The rows are really long right now though, so it's taking me a while to work through them. So I don't know. I don't know if I'll have it finished or just, you know, be on the border, but it'll be progressing. Okay, talking a lot, my mouth is dry. Okay, the other thing that I have worked on since you saw me last, and I have to get to the bottom of my basket here because it's at the very bottom. Oh boy. Is this. So this is my Busy Bee Throw. That's the pattern by Shannon Scott that I'm following for this, but it's not going to be a throw. Again, this is going to be a wrap. And I've worked on this a good bit since you saw it last. So here it is. I've got 3 rows that are the length that I'm going to make this wrap. And it's beyond my, yeah, like I'm holding it end to end, so it's definitely beyond my wingspan. Which means it's more than 64 inches because I'm 64 inches tall. So I would say it's probably about 74 inches. Anyway, I've got those 3 rows done, and now I've started adding a fourth row. And I don't know how many rows I'll get. I've used approximately half of the hexes that I have. I have probably used more than half of the yarn that I have that I'm using for the borders though. So I am going to have to find other things to use for the border, which I'm not worried about because I can always dye something to sort of try to match it up a little bit. I don't know that I could get any more of this particular colorway from, it was From Me to Yarn is the dyer. I mean, I could always check. I might be able to, or maybe she could dye up another skein, but I think I probably have things I can use. I have the matching skein, like the mini that came with it, that I could also use. That is, it's not the same, but it coordinates nicely. I should probably get that out and start incorporating that actually, so that it's not all in one spot. Anyway, I'm having a lot of fun with it. And like I told you last time, I'm doing the borders and then knitting them onto the wrap at the same time. And it's going to be just such a fun mishmash of all these little hexes. I am going to go around it at the very end and do a border around the whole thing. I'm not planning though on doing triangles to make it like straight lines. Like my edges of my wrap are going to be that shape. So it's just going to be quirky and eclectic, just like me. So that is the other project that I have spent time on, and I think maybe that's everything. Let me just run down through my list here. Yeah, that's it. I really want to warp my loom. I haven't done that yet, and I want to do some sewing. I have some sewing projects that I really want to do and haven't done that. I picked up my Ramona cardigan the other day, physically, like I picked it up and I looked at it and I'm like, nope. I put it back down. So I still have not worked on that anymore. But it's okay. Whatever. These things are bringing me joy to work on. So that's it for the making this time. I don't have any new things to show you, I don't think. At least not that are fiber related. So we're going to talk about the MALs, the Nature Make-Alongs. We're still in Flora, so Flora runs through the end of April. So if you're working on any projects that are at all Flora related, whether the pattern is, or the yarn color, or it just reminds you of something Flora related, you're welcome to enter it, as long as it was done between March 1st and April 30th. The submission form, again, is linked both in the Fiber Nymph Dye Works blog post about the make-alongs, which is pinned at the top of the blog area, so you can go there from the website. And it's also in the Ravelry group under the Nature Make-Along thread. So those are the two places. And I told you last time that the form had been creating an error every once in a while for people saying that forbidden message looks like spam or something, and then my web guy fixed that. But then just yesterday I got a message from a couple people saying, hey, I'm getting that error message again. So I can manually move those ones, you know, into the non-spam area, but I have let my web guy know again that we're having the issue, so hopefully that'll get fixed once and for all. If not, you can always contact me if you wonder if your submission was actually submitted. So anyway, at the end of April, I will do drawings for winners for the first installment of the Nature Mal. What else? The Zoom chat. Thank you so much to everybody who took part in the Zoom chat a couple weeks ago. I really appreciate you being my guinea pigs. I had a good time. We only did it for an hour. I know it's sort of short probably compared to a lot of Zoom knit group Zooms. I don't know. I will schedule another one, probably for later in April. But for right now, my next Zoom chat is going to be on Sunday, and that is part of the Allentown Fiber Festival. My Zoom slot is on Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern, and that link for that Zoom chat is in the Allentown Fiber Festival information. I will link to all of that in the show notes, but it's a Facebook page. Primarily all the information is on a Facebook page, which I'm pretty sure you can access whether or not you have a Facebook account. But I also believe she's sharing it on Instagram. So I will try to link to all those places for all that. I'm going to talk about Allentown more in just a minute, but I have something else I want to talk to you about first, because then we'll get into shop news, and then I'll talk about Allentown. This, you might remember from a podcast or two ago, is the Sure of You Headband, which is a design by Jennifer Lassonde, who also has the Downseller Studio podcast, and I test this for her. I'll put the picture in here again of me wearing it. Anyway, it is published now, and she was gracious enough to offer a copy to me to offer to you in a drawing. So I am going to be doing a drawing for a copy of the Sure of You Headband pattern by Jen, and I am going to include a skein of my Megga base because it is knit with bulky yarn, and my Megga base in the silhouette colorway, which is this colorway right here. So if you would like to enter, how do I want to do this? Let's do it with comments again. That worked out really, really well last time. Comment here in the YouTube thread, and what I use as the prompt. Tell me something good that happened to you in the last week. I need to hear good things after dealing with my crappy stuff this past week. Tell me something good that's happened to you recently in the last week or so. That'll be your entry. And if you're commenting and you don't want to be in the drawing, you can let me know that in your comment. But otherwise, if you comment and tell me something good that's happened to you in the last week or so, I will take that to mean that you want to be entered in the drawing for this pattern and a skein of this exact yarn. And I will announce the winner on the next regular episode of the podcast, which will probably be in about a week and a half, 2 weeks. Okay, now we're going to move into shop news. Let's see, a few other things. All of the March 5th Pi Day colorway dye to orders have been shipped out. So if you placed an order to me on that March 5th update when I had the new fungi pie in stock, and then I had a whole bunch of my other Pi Day colorways as dye to orders. If you ordered from me that day, that has now been shipped. The last of them went out today. So thank you so much for your patience. In my defense, I did say please allow 6 weeks, and 6 weeks would have been the 16th, so I did get them out way in advance of the 16th. Well, maybe not way in advance, but at least 9 days ahead of that deadline. Again, see above. Bank fraud, back pain. I honestly worked my butt off to get those out. And they're out. I've also gotten a few of the March 14th fungi pie dyed orders out, and I'm working on those as well. So the rest of those will be going out within the next couple of weeks. My priority right now, aside from Allentown stuff, which is this weekend, is getting the rest of those fungi pie dyed orders out, as well as the April club shipment, which will go out by the end of the month. So those are my priorities, just so you know, keeping me honest. So let's talk about Allentown. Allentown Virtual Fiber Festival is this weekend. It starts on Friday. It's Friday through Sunday, so the 9th through the 11th. The first Zoom, there are going to be half-hour Zooms going on throughout the whole event. They start, I believe, at 6 p.m. on Friday and then run through all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Mine is at 2 p.m. I will link in the show notes the Facebook page, which is kind of the touch point that has all of the information. But I do believe it's also on Instagram, so I'll try to link all of those locations for you so that you can find that information. Lots of vendors taking part. I know different people are offering different things. I will be offering free U.S. shipping for all orders, whether or not they are the $50 minimum or not. It'll just be any U.S. order will be free shipping throughout the weekend, so that'll be all day Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Anything new that I'm putting into my shop for the Allentown Festival will all be in the shop and live as of 6 p.m. Friday. So I'm not really calling it an update because it's not an update, it's a show, but that is the that will be the time that I will have everything go live. If it's something new going in the shop, that's when it will be live. Otherwise, like I said, anything that's already in the shop, if you buy it starting Friday, Eastern time, it'll be free shipping. I have lost a lot of time that I had intended on being able to dye a lot of things for this weekend, and I'm really feeling disappointed. Not disappointed in myself, just disappointed that I haven't been able to meet the goal of everything that I wanted to get dyed for this weekend because I was dealing with all that bank stuff, and then I was dealing with my back pain, and I could only stand for so long in the studio working. So I don't have nearly as much as I had hoped to. However, to make up for that, I'm going to be putting some dye-to-order stuff in the shop for things that I know people are going to be looking for. That would include both of my anniversary colorways. I'm going to have some dye-to-order options for those. I will have more dye-to-orders for fungi pie. And I may put dye-to-orders up for a couple of other things. However, usually whenever I do dyed orders, I always say, well, if you order in-stock stuff, everything will be held until the dyed orders are ready to go. In this case, I'm going to make an exception because it's a virtual show, and I know, one of the highlights of going to a show is getting to bring home all the pretties, right? So I don't want to make you have to wait that 4 to 6 week period for all of your stuff. So if you place an order with me this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, for the Allentown Festival, or during the Allentown Festival time, if you order something that is dyed order, but you also order in-stock items at the same time, I will ship your in-stock stuff right, now. Like, it will ship out in the show shipping, and then I will ship your dyed order items when they're ready. So you won't have to wait for everything. I know it's not perfect, but it's the best I can do, and so I hope that will be okay. Oh, I cannot remember if I talked about this in the last episode or not. And if I did, I added it on as an addendum. The holiday countdown mini sets for 2021. I keep getting requests, or people keep emailing me and asking me, have I put them on sale yet, or when will I be putting them on sale? So just to let you know, I will be doing pre-orders for them. I don't know when yet. It will either be sometime in May or sometime in June. But whenever they go up, they'll be up for at least a month, so you'll have plenty of time to get them in. I won't be putting limits on them. My biggest hesitation right now is being sure that I can get the minis to dye them, because my supplier is very low or out of some bases. So I don't want to sell something that I don't know that I'll be able to get. That's a problem. So that's my hesitation at this point. That, and I also don't want to put them up too early, because that always feels weird. The one year I put them up in April and then didn't ship them until the beginning of November. And that just seems excessive to me, so I don't want to have that long of a turnaround. But stay tuned. I will definitely let you know, and you'll definitely have plenty of time to order them if you want them. I know what they're going to be, and I'm very excited about that. So more information coming. I'm hoping to do a Throwback Thursday update at some point in the last couple of Thursdays of April. I just don't have that scheduled yet. Nor do I have another regular update scheduled. I have to get through Allentown first. Allentown and the club shipment. That is what has to happen. All right, let's get to 10%, or my favorite things that are bringing me joy this week. After listening to me whine about this bank stuff, you would think, well, clearly nothing's bringing you joy, but that's not true. I told you my projects that I'm working on are bringing me joy. Getting my second COVID vaccine definitely brought me joy, especially because that means that I can now see my mom again. I know she did come up last September before anybody was vaccinated. That really wasn't, I mean, that was awesome. It wouldn't have been my preference, but like, she was like, I'm coming up. But now we're all vaccinated, and we are post 2 weeks. We will all be post 2 weeks, and they're coming up at the end of the month. I'm very excited. Emma's been vaccinated. She's gotten both of her shots, so we're all good, and it's very exciting. I'll get to see my mom. I can't wait. I would say the other thing that is bringing, I don't know if it's joy, but comfort, and I'll take that at this point, is my family. Like, Bill and Emma have been awesome through this whole bank thing, because it's been so upsetting to me. And aside from my husband saying, really, you did that? He's been really good. He's like, if you need cash or you need me to write you checks for things or whatever, just let me know. He's been so good and helpful in that respect. And, they both know that I've got this show coming up this weekend, this virtual show, and like, I've lost so much time. And, I just said to them both, I'm like, don't expect dinner. Like, be expecting really easy dinners for the next week. And so Emma's been kicking in. She like cleaned the bathroom the other day and made dinner the other night. For her making dinner, it's usually nachos, which I'm totally on board with. I'll eat nachos for dinner. I love nachos. And Bill went and picked up Chinese for dinner yesterday. But like, it's just nice whenever people you love recognize that you're in a place where you really need help, and then being able to ask for that help, because I'm bad at asking for help. I'm one of those people who is terrible at asking for help. Sarah Bauer, who does the Yarns at Yinhu podcast, she did a meditation series, a mindfulness series several years ago that I think was part of something she was doing as something with her job. I don't know. But she had these mindfulness audio things that she did, and I had listened to them, and in one of them she said, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. And I'll tell you what, that is a mantra that has stuck with me for years, ever since I first heard it. And what I have at my disposal is a family who loves me and is willing to help me, and that brings me joy. So, one other thing I brought out to show you that is bringing me joy is a singing bowl. Have you seen these? Emma has one, and I love it, but I thought I should probably get one of my own, just because I don't want to take hers all the time. But, like, I hope this doesn't freak anybody out, but do you hear that? I hope you can hear that. And maybe it's not comforting to you, but I love this sound and it calms me down. And so I'm really excited to have my sound bowl, my singing bowl. It's just a little thing, but it's like, it's so relaxing to me. Sometimes I just go in the bedroom and I sit there for a couple minutes and do that and just let it relax me, and then I can carry on with my day. So that's it. I feel like this episode was all over the place, and I know I recorded way more than I'm going to be able to upload, so I may end up cutting up a bunch of this out. I don't know. But anyway, I hope you're enjoying your springtime. If you're having springtime, I'm looking across the yard and there's forsythia blooming on our property line. I love forsythia. Okay, I hope you guys are well. I hope you have not been scammed by anybody. I hope you're not scamming yourself either, because we do that too. When we let the negative talk get in our heads, it's basically what we're doing. We're convincing ourselves of something that is not true. Don't do that. Don't scam yourself. Don't should yourself either. That's the other thing. I've been like listening to myself tell myself, oh, you should have done this. You should have done this differently. You shouldn't have given that guy that stuff. You should have hung up immediately. You should have had your dyeing done way in advance of Allentown. You should be able to handle everything without help. Stop shoulding on yourself. I'm trying to remember to stop shoulding on myself. Stop shoulding on yourself. It's not helpful. Start where you are. Do what you can. I said that wrong. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. It will be enough. So those first 3 lines, I have to credit Sarah. I'm adding that last line. It will be enough. You are enough. We are all enough. We just have to accept that. Because life is what it is. And sometimes we can't do anything about it. Have a good couple of weeks. I hope I see you around. And if you shop with me this weekend during Allentown, in advance, thank you so much. Love you guys. Bye.